Hello, YouTube. Luigi here. Before we get into tonight's watch, let's do a wrist check. I'm wearing the old workhorse Casio Duro. There you go. Tonight we're going to take a look at a Croton watch, model number CA301288SSBL. And I have no doubt that the SSBL stands for stainless steel blue. I have very little history on Croton watches, but I'm happy to share what little I have with you. Croton was founded in 1878 in the northern Italian town of Croton, very close to the Switzerland border. Now, I told you I had little history on them. From here, we have to jump all the way to 1992, when Croton was acquired by Nationwide Time, a family-owned company in New Jersey with offices in New York, whose president is David Mermelstein. If you were to go to the Croton website, you'll see Mr. Mermelstein, a rather avuncular and jovial-looking man wearing his yarmulke. It is said that if you were to call the company, David himself would likely answer the phone. They deal with an assembly plant in Hong Kong which produces 200,000 watches per month, but I don't think for a minute that all of these are Crotons. The truth is, there might be an intervening history of Croton, Nevada, but its connections to Croton are not that clear to me, so I left it out. So let's just jump right into this. We have a 42 millimeter diameter polished stainless steel case. 22 millimeter lug width. 49 millimeter lug tip to lug tip. It is 11 millimeters thick. Sized for my 7.5 inch wrist. Having removed 4 links, it weighs 126.5 grams. It claims 10 ATM or 330 feet of water resistance, but I wonder if that's even possible without a screw-down crown. It has a Japan quartz movement, no other specifications, very likely a Miyota. Moving on to the bezel. The bezel features a rather aggressive coin edge. Very easy to get a secure purchase. It is a 60-click unidirectional, not loose or wobbly, but it does spin a bit too easily. I would prefer more resistance. If you knock your watch around a bit, the bezel is likely to move out of position. Mine has several times. There is no triangle at the 12 o'clock position that we usually see on a diver's bezel, and therefore there's no loom pit there as well. And actually there's no loom anywhere on the bezel. The bezel has embossed Arabics at the cardinal points with embossed batons at the 5-minute marks, all black paint-filled. There are no dots or other small markings indicating the minutes, giving us a rather clean, uncluttered-looking bezel. I, for one, like the look. I think that's a good-looking bezel. There is very faint circular brushing on the bezel. I'm not sure you can see it, unless that's part of the machining process. The crown is at the traditional 3 o'clock position, although I've grown to prefer 4 o'clock crowns. It is a 2-position pull-out crown, no screw down. The first position is the quick date, with the second being the time setting. It does hack. It has crown protectors that offer protection without impeding your ability to get purchase on the crown. It is nicely knurled, but has no signature. The bracelet. This Jubilee bracelet fits a 22 millimeter lug width. It alternates between polished and satin rice links. At first, I was quite excited to see that this was a Jubilee bracelet because it would have been my first. But when I removed 4 links for sizing, I realized it was a faux Jubilee. See? A true Jubilee has individual rice links pinned together. This small increment allows for greater flexibility and therefore greater comfort. It has, let's see if I can show you this. It has fold-over end links, but they appear quite substantial. It has a pressed clasp if I can get it to close, with a fold over. I've always been a big fan of the side pushers. 2 side pushers here, see? The fold over clasp opens a bit too easily for me, not much effort required, and therefore feels somewhat insecure. Perhaps I can simply bend the flanges in a bit to tighten things up. The clasp has an understated, where is it? There. Might be upside down. Understated signature, which I think is acid etched. It's nicely brushed and has 3 micro adjustments. The dial. Wow, taken as a whole, this is really a quite handsome dial. It's a nice shade of blue with a grid pattern. It has applied Arabics at the cardinal points and applied batons at all the other hours. All of these applied Arabics and batons are loomed, but they are really not very thick. If they were, it would have added an extra sense of depth and dimensionality to the dial, which would have only have improved the entire look. The second hand is a beautiful shade of red, and the only other red on the dial are the minute indicators from 12 to 4. Hour and minute hands are simple batons with a thin strip of loom. The minute hand is long enough to engage the numerals and other indices, and the hour hand is of such a length that it never obscures the date window. Here's a good time to give you a loom shot. Down here I have a solar watch charger, and I'm just going to let that sit there a minute while I turn off the lights. If I can find the switch. And this is it. There's only loom on the hands. Now, this might look bright, as all things do when they start out, but believe me, this fades very quickly. So the loom is not great. Okay? Back to the dial. It does not suffer from too much verbiage. They had the good sense not to turn this into a billboard. The Croton logo is small and understated. It reads 10 ATM, 330 feet water resistance above the 6 o'clock in a very small white font. Straddling the numeral 6 is Japan Quartz. There is a nicely framed date window at 3 o'clock, which does not in any way slice off the numeral 3. I always prefer to see the date wheel the same color as the dial, but this rarely happens. This date window is larger than many and is easily read. The crystal is a flat mineral crystal that rides slightly proud of the bezel. Had it been recessed, it would have afforded better scratch resistance. Manufacturer's specifications do not mention any anti-reflective coatings. The case, I'm going to open this up so we can see the back of the case. Fold over first. The case is polished with its wrist-hugging lugs curving down rather abruptly. Although I have a 7.5-inch wrist, I think this would hug smaller wrists just fine. It has a polished screw-down case back. Upside down again. With the usual info in a light acid etch or laser etching, I'm not sure. The lugs measure 49 millimeter tip to tip. The price. Saved it for last. The price. Well, this covers pretty much everything I wanted to say about the watch except the price. And even here, I don't believe what I'm about to tell you. When researching the data for this video, I learned that I had paid $22 for this watch on Amazon. I couldn't believe it, so I checked it again and then rechecked. And then I went to my PayPal transactions for that very same day, and with the shipping, indeed, I paid $28 for this quite substantial watch. If you can find this watch for $22, you should probably buy 10 of them. However, this exact same watch is listed on Amazon today for $80, and on the manufacturer's website for, get this, $250. Although I can't explain how I fell into this deal, I will say there's a whole lot of watch here for 22 bucks. To tell you the truth, at that price I was expecting something far less substantial and was pleasantly surprised to be wrong. Okay, this brings me to the end of the watch information, so you can click off here if you like. If you made it this long, thanks for watching. If you stick around, I do have a postscript I'd like to deliver, as well as a shout out or two to some of my favorite watch channels. This entire video was an experiment for me. I've reconfigured my recording apparatus with particular regard to the lighting. I even experimented with recording on different devices, but the superior resolution of the iPhone won out every time. The new lighting here is important because it is largely glare-free, shadow-free, ambient lighting. This seems to be obvious, yet it took me quite a while to evolve to this. You might have noticed that even the style of delivery in this video is quite different from my usual fare. Instead of holding up a watch and rambling on, neglecting to include many key items of interest and not infrequently misspeaking, I have written down the script in a narrative format. This is a cue I've taken shamelessly from Shane at the Relative Time channel. I want to give him a big shout out here because I think his macro photography and his editing skills are simply outstanding. Check him out. Other watch review YouTube channels I really enjoy include Just One More Watch, The Urban Gentry, and The Apostle P, who has recently started reviewing watches from his personal collection. I think I would enjoy The Time Teller more if Jory weren't always screaming at us. That's it, everybody. God bless you. I love you all. Stay safe out there and take care of the people around you. Bye-bye.